Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the Spotlight Games podcast. My name is Patrick Schweigert, and I am joined by the prime suspect in the murder of Kamen Daugherty, Evan Brando. Evan, my first question, why'd you do it? Why'd you get rid of Kamen?
I allegedly did it. It's because Jack Ruby personally asked me to.
I understand.
He said, I think you got spunk. You could really, you got to wow me first, though.
Sure. Hey, it happens.
Yeah.
Things happen, and I'm not a justice body. I can't take you to trial.
I feel completely comfortable talking to you about the allegations that are being served against me.
Yeah. Kamen is no longer with us, as I just mentioned. He's been killed. Yeah, he's just on vacation. He will be back next week. So in his stead, we have the handsome, the talented, the award-winning Evan Brando.
That's true. I put that out there, but I always feel like such a dick that I'm like,
hey, we're in a world in which you gotta flaunt what you got.
As you can see, clearly.
As I can see from the low button shirt. I'm all about it.
This button's too high,
Hey, thank you for joining me today. I'm excited. We're going to talk about some video game news. We got some reviews. We got some announcements because, Evan, this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each and every week we're going to get together to talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of video games.
I'm very excited.
Thank you. You can listen to the show by subscribing to it on your favorite podcast app of your choice, or you can be a YouTube subscriber. Most recently, Evan Brando became a YouTube subscriber not a week ago.
Well, I usually listen to it on my iPod Shuffle.
Sure.
But I wanted it chronologically now.
Is the iPod Shuffle the one that was like, it didn't even have a screen?
Yeah, there's no screen. It's just like, whatever. You just throw all your music on there.
Yeah.
And just play it.
And Steve Jobs personally chooses what you get to listen to.
Yep.
Don't forget, you can be on the show. You can email us, mail at spotlightgames.net. You can DM us on Twitter at SpotGamesPod or on Instagram at Spotlight Games Podcast. Newest episode of Save Trash Cinema is live, starring a friend of ours, Jeremiah Hobbs. We talk about April Fool's Day, a 1986 classic film. So if you're, all those Jeremiah stands out there, walk, don't run.
Shout out Jeremiah.
Sure, shout out Jeremiah. Or I guess run, don't walk. You should run to the podcast app of your choice. So yeah, check that out. We have a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, Weird West. 2 new games that are out. We have some review roundups about that, and then some new game announcements, some surprises, Evan. But before we get into any of that, let's talk about what we've been playing. Evan, walk me through the last, it's been a while since you've been on the pod.
That's true.
So what have you been playing? What's top of mind for Evan Brando?
Top of mind, I've been playing this game called Hypnospace Outlaw is one I completed. That was really weird and cool. And
I've never heard of this. Tell me about it.
It's like I don't want to call it a point and click, but it's a little point and clicky. You are like a thought police guy in like what's an early 2000s web thing.
Okay.
So I beat that. I don't want to talk too much more about it because it's really weird.
Sure.
I don't know if it's on anything but Steam, but it's fun and worth a playthrough. Also, if you like deck building games, I beat the game Inscription, which is another game I don't want to talk too much about, but it's a really fun deck building game. If you like spooky stuff, that game gets off the rails entirely.
Whenever I get a PC, namely your PC, whenever we actually have that conversation, I really want to play Inscription.
Inscription is probably my favorite game I've played this year.
Hell yeah.
But I have also been playing through Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which I know you also are. So I'll put a little pin in that and say that in addition to that, I've also been playing a lot of Fortnite. Couple of things. I don't like Battle Royale games basically at all. Okay. And I've never been into Fortnite.
Okay.
I've played maybe 3 games of Fortnite before this, but no build mode is so fun.
So tell me about this. I've heard about it. I think it might be self-explanatory, but explain to me no build mode.
Yeah. So in Fortnite, like a main mechanic of the game is like you are like mining things and you're getting like wood and rock and you're using that to like, you can build ramps and build, stairs and houses and bunkers and stuff like that. For this, they said, what if we had a core mechanic of the game and we just got rid of it?
Sure.
And it is so fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I've been squadding up with my boys playing it.
Nice.
It's that like perfect combination of like, oh yeah, you get to like fun, serious engagements with other players, but also it's very goofy because you're like, well, I just took a tank off a trampoline. That was great.
What is your console of choice for Fortnite?
I'm a PC guy, but I also have it on Switch too.
Yeah,
But mostly I'm playing on PC.
I learned last year. I got into Fortnite for like 7 days, and I played the hell out of Fortnite for like a week. But I played it on Switch, and then I was like, you know what? I want to try it because I've been playing it on handheld mode. I want to try it on PlayStation. Turns out the audience on PlayStation a lot better at that game than Switch. You can be a god on Switch at Fortnite.
I think that's why also part of the reason I'm having such a good time with it is it's like this is appealing people who are pretty fresh to the game.
Sure.
And maybe that's just me because I haven't played a lot of Fortnite, but I feel like people who play Fortnite are generally pretty good at Fortnite.
Yeah, right. Because it's been around for so long. Because yeah, I was playing on Switch and I'd won like 5 out of like 10 games, and I'm like, this feels odd to me. And I play on PlayStation, and I was like the first one dead every single time. So
yeah,
like,
right.
I see what's happening here.
A lot in this mode. I've won more, I would say than average.
Yeah, I'm gonna try this one out because I like playing on PlayStation Fortnite. I have a lot of fun with it, but people are just so good at building. They'll build a 10-story building in 3 seconds flat, and I don't even know how to build a wall.
I don't want to start trying to snipe someone and then they turn into a 5-star hotel.
Exactly. Right. So I'm gonna try this out. This I'm glad to hear that you've been enjoying it. But yeah, Kirby and the Forgotten Lands.
I fucking love it.
I am so surprised at how much I love this game.
I am too, actually, because it's not, from what I know about you in games, it's not what I would guess your typical cup of tea is.
Not typically. And I like a good Mario, like a 3D Mario game. I like a good platformer from time to time, but usually I like more story-driven stuff. But this game, it really feels almost like a spiritual sequel to like Mario Odyssey.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm loving all the different levels. The graphics are incredible.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, it's like it's really light on like overtly stupid mechanics. Like there aren't any. So like it's just fun. Like what's your experience been so far?
Just to add on that, it's the reason I think it feels kind of like Mario Odyssey to me at least is not necessarily that it's like open world, because it's not an open world game, but it feels like that because I feel like I can kind of go at this game at my own pace. Completing one level is not particularly difficult. It's fun to move through and play, but you can get from point A to point B very, very easily. Where the like sort of self-imposed challenge comes from is like, oh, are you going to go back and get all the Waddle Dees? Are you trying for the 100% completion? Which reminds me of like, in Mario Odyssey, like, there's a shine right over there. Do I want to just keep going the game, or do I want to bend over backwards to try and get that thing? So it kind of feels like that.
And also something else that has given me Mario Odyssey vibes is the world is just so creatively weird that like when it was first revealed, there were a lot of jokes that it looked like Kirby set in the world of The Last of Us. And that is definitely true. Like a lot of these, it's like a post-apocalyptic Kirby game, but there's not a single horror element. Like it's just, what if Nintendo made a post-apocalyptic game and it's Kirby, and I'm having a blast with it.
I remember when I got to, I think it's the third world so the first one is like this like dilapidated city, which is cool. And then you move to like the Waddle Dee city town, which is cute. And then the next one I think is like your generic, like, here's the water level. Yeah. Here's beach things. And then the next one is like a broken down theme park. And that was
so far has been my favorite.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. There's one mission where you're kind of going through like a, what do you call that? Like that in a carnival is like a house, like a weird house. Like
a fun house,
like a fun house, yeah. But it's like a dilapidated, like broken down fun house, and it is just the design of this game I've been completely blown away by. So if anyone out there is on the fence about it, strongly recommend.
Also, it gives you, it like motivates you to play and want to play. Like find the Waddle Dees in the same way that like a game like Mario Odyssey does, very simply, because there's always like, oh, well, I want to keep upgrading my powers because it feels good to upgrade your powers because it's fun to watch Kirby do more stuff, but also like they're cute and it's fun to see how these powers evolve, like,
oh, for sure. Like whenever you upgrade them, they have like a new look to them and also a new power. So it's been fun seeing like what what changes whenever you upgrade them for sure.
Yeah, and a lot of those powers are really unique to begin with. So seeing the way that they like improve is really cool. Like the bomb one will like go into like chain bombs and stuff, which I think is really creative.
Yeah, there's one power that I've still not found, and I feel like how far I am in, I think I might have just missed it.
Probably.
But it's like when you're in the place where you can upgrade them, it's the second from the right. I don't know if that tells you anything. It's next to, it's like close to like the bombs and I don't know.
Hammer? The hammer?
I have the hammer. That's second from the left, actually.
But
yeah, it's one of them on the right. I think it's by the thing that you can like roll as anyway, doesn't matter. Right. I'm having a great time with it. It's fun. I'm looking forward to, it's been a really fun, like Rose and I are watching something at night. I just want to play something in handheld mode, which I think Lego Star Wars is also going to be that for me once I finish Kirby. I haven't played another game, Weird West, but I want to just briefly touch on that when we're reading the reviews for Weird West, because I really haven't played very much of it. I played like an hour.
What else have you been playing? Obviously Kirby, which is great. I mean, I feel like at this point, Nintendo is kind of like, it's a little like Marvel, where they're like, okay, we kind of just know what works. Most of our first party games are just going to be like home runs.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that right now, that's all for me. It's just Kirby and the Forgotten Lands and Weird West.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've been trying to get into Elden Ring, and I'm just not in the right mindset. I want a fun, not to say that it's not a fun game. I want a game that's not going to just completely kick my face in.
Yeah,
right now.
Maybe somewhere between a Kirby and an Elden Ring.
Yeah,
like a Breath of the Wild 2.
Which.
Yeah, I need to commiserate that real quick as my first round fantasy pick for our league.
It hurts.
Rest in peace.
It was a risk. It was a gamble.
I knew it was happening, but I'm probably just gonna pick up the new Pokemon game instead.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Yeah, well, that's supposed to be coming this year, right? Violet and
November. Yep, that's gonna be Nintendo's big holiday launch. Which, I mean, after Arceus, probably gonna be pretty big. As long as they
probably. I know Arceus has convinced me to buy the next Pokemon game day one. So
that was Sword and Shield for me. I was like,
yeah,
I think I may have mentioned this before, but I was like, I have subscribed to the Pokemon every single year subscription, and bought them, and I was like, well, I haven't really been playing them as much. I really enjoyed Let's Go, but like otherwise, kind of meh to me. Sure. And then I was like, Sword and Shield, this is going to be my last one. If I don't like it, I will just accept the Pokemon. While I still love it, will always love the older ones. Maybe just not a series that's going in the direction I want.
Sure.
And then I love Sword and Shield. One of my favorite Pokemon games, if not my favorite.
Really?
Probably doesn't dethrone Heart Gold or
Soul Silver.
Yeah, it doesn't dethrone any of those, Platinum, but I really did love Sword and Shield.
I want to go back to it because I played it before Arceus, and I was just a little jaded on Pokemon, which it's a very different game. But
yeah, that's why I liked it, is because it was like, I don't know, you're not really like this kid of legend or anything. You're not like gonna save the world. I mean, you do, but even that feels like, well, we have to have that. Mostly you're just like in a Pokemon league. The evil team is a group of like fans.
Yeah.
Like, it's just annoying guys from Twitter, which is a great villain.
Sure. That is, it can be cathartic to fight trolls from Twitter.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of catharsis, Evan, there's a game that has come out that is all about catharsis, and that is Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. These reviews came out within the last few days. It just released Tuesday of this week, so yesterday as of recording. So I brought a couple reviews over. We have one from IGN, one from Game Informer, but it's reviewing very well.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, me either.
Lego Star Wars games, and I think Lego games tend to do fairly well. I mean, I think it depends a lot on like the IP and how well that adapts to it. But Lego Star Wars, the original, is like a slam dunk.
Yeah, I really liked Lego Star Wars when I was younger.
Me too.
I got a little tired of the Lego formula because it was usually just like a reskin. So I'm really excited that this has been completely overhauled.
It looks so different.
It looks so good. If you're watching the video version, I have some gameplay pulled up for B-roll. But I was kind of taking the wait and see approach on whether or not I'm going to buy it, and I have waited, and I have seen that I really want this game.
Oh, I'm buying it this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
The only thing that's stopping me from buying this, like day one, is that I have Kirby still.
Right. Are you gonna? Where are you gonna pick it up on?
I don't know. I was considering Switch because it's what I have. You know, it's our main thing in our living room, and I would love to play this with Corinne, my partner. And also, I was watching some gameplay of it, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah,
if not like just as good, which makes sense. It's a Lego game.
That my main concern with the Switch version was that oftentimes with these games that are multi-platform, the Switch version performs the worst and it looks the worst. But it actually, from what I've been reading, it seems pretty comparable. I mean, sure, the PS5 version is going to run better, but I think I'd rather have the handheld.
Yeah, it's the handheld, and I think that's what it is for me. Also, I don't have 2 controllers for my PlayStation 4, so and I have not picked up a PlayStation 5 yet.
Hey, someday soon. So first one I want to pull from, this is from IGN. This is an 8 out of 10 review. So a great on the IGN scale. This is from Tristan Ogilvy. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Tristan, I'm sure you're listening. I apologize. Tristan's verdict was Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga provides some rollicking reimaginings of Star Wars' most iconic moments and seats them aside a series of interplanetary playgrounds that are dense with discovery and entertaining diversions. Certain elements like its upgrade and cover systems feel somewhat superfluous, and co-op has some notable drawbacks, but there were otherwise enough laugh-out-loud gags and surprising shifts in gameplay to keep me thoroughly engaged from the opening crawl of Episode 1 all the way through to the end of Episode 9.
Wait, did they mention what those drawbacks were?
And they probably do in the in the full review. I'm just pulling the verdict. I do know one thing that I have heard from other reviews that I've listened to. There's no online co-op, but I do believe that the co-op, the couch co-op, I believe works like you would expect. So
which I am mostly fine with. I was thinking about it originally. I was like, God, why wouldn't you have that? But like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's okay that some games just need local co-op. Maybe we don't have enough of those.
I agree. Yeah, this is one where I don't know that Rose has ever played one of the Lego games, but she's not like super into Star Wars, but I might see if she's interested in playing this to see if she'd be cool with co-oping it. Because one thing, I'm not going to read the whole verdict from Game Informer, but there is a very exciting piece, which I know you're excited about with this, that Andrew mentions in his review, which is Babu Frick is a character. Babu Frick is here. And so and that's another thing. The sequel trilogy has never had the Lego treatment. So those will be completely new for any returning folks.
Well, so one of my takes is that the prequel trilogy has been sort of, I think it's aged pretty well. And I think part of the reason is because of treatments like this that do boil it down. You know, I mean, maybe it's just because I grew up like that, but I think that the prequels were best consumed through toys essentially.
Sure.
And Lego set specifically. Because there are a lot of really exciting and fun set pieces in those movies.
Right.
And I think that the sequels could do a similar thing. Although I think the majority of those are good. Even watching Rise of Skywalker, which I think is one of the worst movies ever made, I think could be saved in Lego format because there are a lot of fun set pieces in it. It's just not particularly elegant in movie form.
I'm also, because I agree. I was a defender of Rise of Skywalker until I saw it a second time a year later, and I was like, oh wow, this movie is trash. But
it's a bad movie.
It's bad. But I'm excited to see, because the other thing with Lego, if you've never played one of the Lego games, they really put a comedic spin on all the movies, even if they're tragic moments. So I'm excited to see.
Feel cheap.
Right. It doesn't feel reductive. It doesn't feel like it's taking away from it. It's just their own interpretation. And so, yeah, I'm totally down for seeing a new interpretation of the sequel trilogy with a bunch of Legos. So very excited about this one. That's for sure. Probably we'll report back next week with some key thoughts on how we're liking this game so far. Another game that has come out, Evan, that is exciting and that I have been playing a little bit is Weird West.
Yeah, tell me about Weird West.
So Weird West is it almost feels like, did you ever play oh man, now the name is escaping me. It was like a CRPG last year that was re-released. It got tins from everywhere. Man, what is this game called? Disco Elysium. It gives me Disco Elysium vibes in some ways.
I remember seeing this game, previews for this game, and was really excited about it because I'm a big Western fan.
Yeah, so I don't have a ton to say yet because I've only played about an hour so far. I think I have some B-roll pulled up here as well for the YouTube watchers. The graphics are awesome. It's a really, really pretty game, very stylish.
I love the cel shadedness.
Yeah, I love the cell shaded vibe. It's like a over the top view, and it does a thing that Disco Elysium didn't do. At least if you could do it, I never figured out how to do it. Where you can zoom in and get pretty close in, because like sometimes it feels like you're a little too far out.
Yeah.
But you can adjust that so that you can, if you're in like an indoor space, you can start looking at like the things that are in the house or whatever. But so far, the title Weird West is very descriptive of this game, because it's given me some real weird. There's like a supernatural thing going on in the B-roll. Apparently, one of the playable characters that I've not gotten to yet is a werewolf. So definitely, it is leaning into the weird. But the story so far seems really cool. Like it's pulling me in so far. The only issue that I've had with it so far, which could only be that because I'm an hour in. The actual combat, the controls they don't feel great. Aiming specifically does not feel very good.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, it feels
really with the top down.
Yeah, but it feels almost like a shoot 'em up, like a twin stick shooter in a way, but like it just doesn't feel right. Like because it usually, like with a twin stick shooter, like Returnal is like a modern 3D version of a twin stick shooter. It's like a bullet hell type thing.
Yeah,
where like
it's kind of the same way,
all over the place. Like you're just kind of fighting to survive. But this, it's very it's not hectic. At least it hasn't been hectic yet. It's been like, here's a little map where there are like 3 enemies, but I feel like the aiming has been very difficult when I'm just targeting like a few enemies, as opposed to my screen is full of them, because you can just kind of generally aim. But this is requiring precision that's not feeling very good.
That's exactly what I was going to say with the twin stick, because you're like having to move and aim with like, kind of on the same axis. Precision becomes less important, or in theory, it feels good when it's less important, because you're just like, oh God.
Right.
Popping off. And like, in games like Enter the Gungeon, there are guns that want you to be more precise, but then that's like not inherently part of the game. That's just like, oh, this is what makes the gun or weapon kind of weird.
Right.
Rather than just feeling like that all the time. I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. So we'll see if that changes as I play more of it. I do want to read one of these. So I pulled a couple reviews, one from Destructoid, one from IGN. I'll pull from Destructoid. This is Eric Van Allen, gave it an 8 out of 10. Eric says, Weird West presents a bizarre world to tell a story about real human struggles. It might have some hitches and messiness, but it's a journey worth taking if you've ever been nostalgic about the good old days. That sounds like a problematic phrase. Well, or I see what he means though.
No,
or you just yeah, or you just like the idea of charging into a group of enemies as an unstoppable fantasy monstrosity, shotgun barrels blazing with electric western riffs, ringing out in the distance. Saddle up, Pigman. That's your cue. That must be a reference to the game specifically.
Probably.
Yeah, if you've ever been nostalgic about the good old days. Odd word choice.
And what parts of the old
days? Interesting. But Dan's review with IGN, like it's very similar in that, like some key kind of phrases. Weird West more than lives up to its name in all the right ways, playing through its 5 stories and reaching their collective conclusion produces a wagon load of bizarre encounters, twists, and reveals, and its stealth and chaotic combat are challenging, but come with the built-in safety nets of unlimited slow motion and an old school quick load systems. Like that sounds like, maybe I'm just not at a point where
you've gotten it yet.
Yeah, I think so.
You are only like an hour in, but I will say, I do feel, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like about once or twice a year, we get a game that looks like this. It's like a top down Wild West, maybe even Weird West game. And they all just kind of like, they all just kind of feel like a mush, And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm making this up, but I really do feel like every year there's a new, like, check out the Weird West thing, or even just a Western game. And I feel like most of them just missed the mark hard.
Sure.
This one seems like it really nails.
Yeah. I'm excited. It's on Game Pass. So if you have an Xbox, or I'm assuming it's also on PC Game Pass. I'm not totally sure. I've just been playing it on my Xbox.
I'll check right now.
But yeah, so check it out. But so any of our Xbox listeners, if you're interested in Weird West, seems to be pretty good so far. I am enjoying it. So we will also keep you posted on our progress there. So those are a couple of our game reviews that we have, but now we have a couple game announcements. The first one, Evan, took me by surprise.
Yeah, baby.
And I had a
woo! Yes.
I had a feeling
unbelievably unbelievably excited for this one.
Yeah, I had a feeling. Yeah. No. I had a feeling that Monkey Island is an Evan game.
It sure is.
And so I've never played either of the originals.
I have a hard time recommending them, despite the fact I think it has some of the best comedy writing in video games, because they are a little aged.
Okay.
Like the point and click adventure games, particularly like old school, like LucasArts adventure games, are slow.
Sure.
And a little infuriating, especially if you're not playing with like any sort of a guidebook.
Sure.
That being said, they did remaster them maybe a decade ago. And so you can play those, and they're a little nicer to look at.
Okay.
Some really great voice acting and stuff. So mixed bag. If you've got time, like if a slower paced game does not bother you, or maybe it's something you could throw on just like while you're working, because you can kind of play it at your own pace.
Sure.
Would highly recommend checking them out.
As someone who has played them, I have some B-roll pulled up here for our video watchers. How are you liking this new art style?
I am not surprised by it. If you told me that we were getting a Monkey Island remake, I would have bet it looked like Broken Age. Just sort of ragdoll-y, I don't know, puppety animation. I don't know why. I think it fits. I think it looks good for the sort of pirate aesthetic. But
yeah, so let me ask you this. So as someone who has never played, what is the excuse me, what is the main goal with a Monkey Island game? Like, is it you're solving a mystery? Is it like
5-3 you want to be a mighty pirate?
Got it. Okay.
Well, like the crux of the first game is like you need 3 things to be a good pirate, and you have to go get those 3 things.
I see. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm pulling this from just some kind of details about it. I'm pulling from Engadget. This is by Chris Holt. Chris writes, one of the best video game series of all time is making a return in 2022 with some of its key original creatives on board. Return to Monkey Island is, quote, a game by Ron Gilbert, who conceived the point and click comedy adventure saga in the late 80s, which I think, again, as someone who hasn't played it, that this is being made by the original creator of the game, I think is also a huge win.
So interestingly enough, he said he would never, maybe getting this wrong, but in the trailer, the little skull says, I know he said he'd never unless, and he like drops it because he's, again, could be wrong. I think he has famously said, I would never make a Monkey Island game unless I own it.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And he was like, as long as he basically wants to be completely in charge of it, and otherwise he wouldn't do it. And so it sounds like he is.
They've made a few that kind of petered and fizzled. I think from what I'm reading, this game is ignoring some of those.
Okay.
But I could be wrong on that.
Okay. A little bit more from Chris Holt. Return to Monkey Island is in development at Gilbert's Terrible Toy Box. The studio is working alongside Devolver Digital and Lucasfilm Games on the latest entry. According to the description of a teaser video developer posted, it's a, quote, long-awaited follow-up to the first 2 games. So yeah, it's...
Okay, so yeah, there it is.
It being with Devolver Digital, who, for the most part, doesn't miss. They also did Weird West. They're just a really weird publishing house that...
I have a lot of faith in them to handle a project like this.
Yeah, and...
This is the kind of weird, like, niche project that is very up their alley.
For sure. Yeah. So I'm excited about this. I'll probably, if I can easily go back to the remakes, I'll probably try them because I like a good point and click adventure. It is a game style that is pretty outdated today. Yeah. We've been kind of programmed to like fast paced stuff, and those are just very slow games.
It's evolved. I think there's still examples of it. Like the Telltale games, I would say, are like the modern point and click.
Yeah.
But they're like more cinematic approaches.
Sure.
Whereas these are, pretty on rails. It's kind of the same thing. And
they're
also on mobile. It's a great mobile title. I played it on my iPad as well.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll do it that way then, because I didn't realize it was on mobile. I know, because as a kid, the point and click adventure was a staple for us on the computer, especially Pajama Sam.
Yeah, this definitely feels like those. Yeah. The one thing I will say that makes this a little more bearable is the writing is really, really good. It's, again, just one of the funniest games you'll ever play. And I don't think I'm overselling that.
And by we, I mean video games. Video games don't really do comedy much.
No, I was trying to think about this, that like funny games are there's really like 2 different kinds of them. There's games that are like, oh, these are kind of snarky and like these have jokes written in them, and there are like games that I would say are very just like funny with comedy as like the main goal of the game.
Yeah.
And we definitely don't get as many of those anymore. Because like Fortnite is a funny game. You know, that's part of the reason I've been enjoying it.
Sure.
Phasmophobia, another one like that, where it's like, this is just a great vehicle for me to have funny times.
Yeah, that's more so in like with Fortnite, it's funny because you're LeBron James fighting.
Yeah, I just
Rick
got murked
from
by
Rick and Morty.
Timothée Chalamet. Are you kidding me?
Right, right. And so like it's that kind of like the humor comes in the game itself because of the rules in which they have built around the game. But very few times are there games where they are written to be funny.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you the last game. I mean, Broken Age, maybe, that was like, oh, okay, that's quite funny. Psychonauts 2 is very funny.
I was about to say Psychonauts 2 has a lot of humor in it. Yeah, I think, but it's fun. I mean, Broken Age also the Double Fine game. So
yeah, Double Fine. Tim Schafer again.
Yeah, Tim Schafer, obviously.
He's the last guy doing it. Yeah, so it's very weird to see a game that's like, oh, well, this is a vehicle like just for jokes, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's like the MCU movies versus like a standard comedy. Like all the MCU movies are decently funny, you know? Like
sure.
But the machine and the formula that they have is like we got to have comedy and jokes in here.
Yeah.
But they're not really comedy movies in the general.
Yeah. The closest one would probably be Ant-Man, but even like I couldn't sit back and say Ant-Man's a comedy.
Yeah, it mostly just has Paul Rudd.
Right. They leaned into the fact that Paul Rudd was the protagonist.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, definitely. I definitely want to play these, and hopefully, maybe this will be the beginning of a new age of video games that are funny.
Maybe
I would be all for that.
If one series was going to do it, because I also think that Monkey Island has sort of a legacy that people are interested in, but like can't quite get past the like the barrier of, well, it's hard to play this game.
Sure. Yeah.
Another example like that, where a remake has come out recently where like the first one was like good and famous and well beloved, but a little just like imperceptible,
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I can't think KOTOR, I think, is going to be that for a lot of people.
KOTOR will be that for a lot of people, I think, when that comes out.
Where it's like these old mechanics, while, are just a sign of the times, more
Final Fantasy Remake, maybe.
Final Fantasy Remake is actually a perfect example.
Yeah.
Of what I'm talking about, where it's
completely changing the way that the game works for the modern era.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm hoping they give a little bit of that. I don't think they'll get totally away from point and click, obviously.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see what they do with the combat in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the thing I'm most excited about, because I don't know if you're aware of how that works, but
I'm not actually.
Oh, okay. So this is the best, I think, part of the game is it's insult based sword fighting.
Okay.
So, like the like Princess Bride, like sort of like, or even classic movie like Rat-a-tat of like, I say something witty and you say something witty back. Like Road to El Dorado, it's like, you fight like my sister. I fought your sister. That's a compliment. So you have to like, they'll say something to you or you'll say something to them, and you'll just have this like back and forth where you're picking.
Interesting.
What's the funniest, wittiest response?
So you basically have to outwit them to beat them.
Yes.
That's really fun. That's cool. Yeah, I guess part of it too, like part of the reason that I bet those kinds of games don't really exist anymore is writing comedy
is hard.
And it's risky because not everyone finds the same things funny.
Oh,
so if you're writing something as funny, you might be alienating a part of your audience just because they don't find it funny.
I tried to play a game called Immortals Phoenix Rising, which was supposed to be funny, and comedy did not land for me at all. No, I was like, why are you guys even doing this? This is so bad.
Yeah. It felt like they this feels so reductive of all the work they probably put in, but it felt like they
I know I hate to hate things.
I know, me too. It did feel like they like at the end were like, let's just try to pivot this as a comedic game. Maybe that'll set us apart, because it was just such a vanilla game. Someone
go take a level 1 improv class and report back with what you see.
Oy vey. Well, I'm when this game starts getting more, we'll definitely bring you on as our subject matter expert.
Oh, would love that. Could also grab a friend of the show, Nick Sawalski, because that is how he and I became friends.
Because of Monkey Island?
Yeah, we were in a show together, and I saw him playing Monkey Island on his iPad.
Hell yeah.
So, boom, cool guy.
Shout out to Nick, who was recently on Safe Chair Cinema. We'll have to bring him on.
Friend of the pod.
We'll have a little round table, Monkey Island round table.
Yes, please.
Cool. Well, there's another game announcement that I want to talk about, Evan, and this one because there's implications with this game announcement.
This is an interesting one.
This is an interesting one. So yesterday, as of recording, so Tuesday of this week, Crystal Dynamics announced on a Epic was doing what they called a State of Unreal event where they were essentially kind of spotlighting Unreal Engine 5. We've talked about Unreal Engine 5 a couple times on the show. Recently with the new Witcher game is going to be in Unreal. That Matrix experience that we played and talked about was built in Unreal 5 as like a demo. They announced, Crystal Dynamics, who made the 2013 kind of reboot of Tomb Raider, they announced that they're going back to Tomb Raider in Unreal Engine 5 on this State of Unreal event. The interesting thing here, though, Evan, is that they are already, so they in 2020 released Marvel's Avengers, a games as a service.
Yep.
That they're working on actively, supposedly. And they've also recently, they revealed and announced that they were like co-developing the Perfect Dark game with the initiative.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
So this, I mean, Crystal Dynamics, big company, AAA studio, but they're already co-developing a AAA game that has been described as quadruple A, apparently, but I don't even know what that means.
What does that mean?
It's just a buzzword. So they're already co-developing a AAA game under Microsoft with the initiative on Perfect Dark. They have their own game that they are actively building new stuff for, Marvel's Avengers. But my question then becomes, is this step one of Marvel's Avengers is on its way out?
Definitely. I mean, that game was not well received at all. Yeah. And I think that they were kind of banking like, well, okay, we didn't nail the landing, but because we are doing this as games as a service, maybe we'll pick up some momentum later. We'll have some sort of undeniable DLC, you know, the public interest in Marvel will like come back because it's kind of on the, you know, they kind of released it at the worst time.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, not that people weren't interested in Marvel because it's still huge, obviously.
Right.
But, you know, after Endgame, it's sort of been like a wait and see, I think, with a public audience. So I think they're just sort of like gracefully trying to peter out of it.
Yeah, it's surprising because with something that big and how much money they put into it, and I mean, it had what was essentially the Avengers of voice actors as the main actors, like Troy Baker, Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, like all those big names, and it just definitely kind of was a dud. And I mean, they've been supporting it a fair amount, like they've released some new content, some new characters, but it has not gotten the amount of support that something like Fortnite, Destiny 2, these other games as a service get. And
yeah, I'm curious. I don't know that we've seen a game necessarily like the Avengers do a games as a service, and I don't know that we will for a while.
Sure.
I can't think of one because, you know, the ones that are successful to me don't follow like a narrative structure.
Sure.
Typically, not saying that like games like Destiny don't have story or lore or anything like that, and certainly a comic book thing could potentially be the one to do it because you could have sort of like oh, well, check it out. Now the Riddler is attacking or whatever, you know, yeah. Batman would be a perfect one for that because he's of his really big rogues gallery.
Right. Huh. Yeah, that's an interesting idea because usually with these kinds of games, it's all about the grind, the loot grind, whatever the grind is. Things like the Division, Destiny 2. It's all about I need to get the better thing, and in order to get the better thing, I have to play this mission 55,000 times. And like a Division, famously,
maybe that doesn't work with Iron Man. You know?
Maybe. I mean, it definitely does. It doesn't work with Iron Man if the gameplay is not very fun. Did you play Marvel's Avengers?
No, I watched some gameplay videos and I spoke with a couple of friends who played it and we're just like,
yeah, I played the campaign and I was pretty
curious. I love Miss Marvel.
Like parts of it, like the story that they told, I thought was good.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
The game itself, it wasn't very fun to play. Like
that's at the end of the day, that's it, man.
Right. And like even though I do, you know, I'm always saying like I play a game for its story.
You have to play the game.
Right, exactly. The play is the first word there. I am playing this story. And so if the play is not fun, even if the story they're telling me is really entertaining, well, you're not going to keep me around. And it didn't. Like I jumped into the first piece of DLC that they had released was, I think, Hawkeye, or if it wasn't Hawkeye, it was oh man, I can't think of her name. Who was she becomes Hawkeye, but who's his like she was just in the show.
What's her
name?
Kate
Bishop. It might have been that Kate Bishop was the first piece of DLC, and like I started playing it, and it just just didn't work for me. I haven't tried the Black Panther. I haven't tried the Spider-Man. Like those are two characters that I would think would be more quote unquote fun in a video game. So maybe
because you can swing, but
right.
Like
so,
swinging in games. I don't know about you, but I just like anytime I
swing. Oh yeah. Have you played? Speaking of that, have you played Fortnite as Spider-Man? Do you have Spider-Man?
No, I don't. I got in a little late. I was like, I'm at right now. The highest one you can get is Doctor Strange, and I'm like, I don't really care that much about Doctor Strange, so I have not bought a battle pass or anything.
Yeah. But yeah, so actually one other thing about this story that I found interesting. So I was pulling from Eddie McCouch at GameSpot. He had mentioned it appears Crystal Dynamics announced the new Tomb Raider so early in part to help it staff up, which apparently, like now that when he says that, I was like, oh yeah, this has kind of been a trend recently. Like with The Witcher, we talked about a few weeks ago, they're like, we're making The Witcher 4. Like we just started development. And part of the announcement was you can work here. And so I think one piece that could be in Marvel Avengers' favor is that it might be that they just announced this so far in advance because they are truly just starting. And so maybe Marvel's Avengers will still have a couple years of support, but I do think that 3 years from now, this Marvel's Avengers probably won't be a thing anymore.
I completely agree. I'm surprised it's still a thing, to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
I do have a wild prediction for this Tomb Raider game, though.
Hit me.
I think it's going to be completely different than the Tomb Raider series that they have been working on so far.
Oh, interesting. In that, like in the gameplay or like the thematic elements.
So if we take reboots, I think it's just going to be, a new graphical style, new gameplay style. We're just going to revisit it because right now it's just sort of trying to emulate, Uncharted in a lot of ways. And I think that based on the one I've played, it succeeds. But I think that it's just like, all right, well, we're kind of moving away from this sort of like cinematic-esque gameplay.
Yeah.
And sort of a bigger blend of the like cinematics and the gameplay,
Yeah. So you played the first reboot, like the 2013 version?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved that one.
Thought it was great. It was
great.
I played it much later, but I was like, this was a sleeper hit. Like this was very, I can't help but think maybe it got hosed by some sort of thing being out or like it be straying a little too far from the original.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think it was relatively well received, but it definitely wasn't like a massive success.
It felt like something must have stomped its momentum.
Maybe, yeah. I remember, so the sequel, Rise of the Tomb Raider, it famously had come out just on Xbox for the first year. And so that, I think, because I think Rise of the Tomb Raider is probably the best of this new trilogy, the second one, but its audience was only on one platform for a year. And so I think that kind of kept the momentum for building for that one. And then the third one just wasn't very good. And I think it was even maybe, I could be wrong here, but I think it was maybe done by a different studio. I think that was done by Square Enix, not Crystal Dynamics.
Oh, you know what? It was that totally.
And that one I visited several years later because I remember like when the trailers were coming out, it just didn't really speak to me, even though I really liked the first two games. And then I went to it maybe like 6 or 8 months ago, and I got like 3 hours in and I was like, this is just not, it doesn't feel as good. Yeah. So I honestly, at first when you said that, I was like, I don't know that they would do that, but they might benefit from kind of a complete overhaul because
that's what I think. Just some fresh project, because everyone's going to look at this and be like, oh, okay. Yeah. That's the Tomb Raider games that have been coming out, but it seems like, I don't know, if you really want this one to succeed, I think you should kind of start fresh or at least do something at least visually to distance yourself from that era of Tomb Raider.
I'll tell you what, something that I really hope that they do go away from in the first one, I think it really worked. But by the end, like by the third one, I was like, oh, we're still doing this, where it was very, it felt like Lara would just go through these horrible, horrible things that would cause insane amounts of pain. And like famously in the original trailer of the 2013 one, she like falls out of this like plane and she gets like stabbed in her rib. And then like the gameplay is kind of affected by her having been stabbed in the rib. And like that first time I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like very gritty and very like Lara Croft is a really gritty woman. But by the third one, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I don't need these like hyper violent things that just make her be in these really painful situations.
That also,
I hope they go away from that.
It feels like such a product of the era too, where it's like sort of this reverse, like response to like, well, we can't be cartoony, God.
Yeah.
But like the original Tomb Raider is pretty cartoony, you know? I mean, part of that's graphical limitations, but part of it's like, man, she turns into a skeleton at one point. Like, You know, like, come on, what are
Yeah.
we doing here, folks?
Yeah, yeah. I hope they meet somewhere in the middle of that, like cartoony and real and like hyper realistic violent.
Yeah, because you don't. I feel like there's a lot of like, especially from like the late PS3, PS4 era. It's like, well, no, we got to be realistic, or else people aren't going to respect us as a game.
Sure.
They'll just write us off as like a children's game, like they have been for Nintendo for a while.
Right.
Now, I think the conversation has changed a little bit because of just like who the main audience of gaming is, which is
sure
everyone now.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, 16-year-olds wouldn't want to play your game if it looked too kiddie.
Right. Well, we'll. I'm sure we will probably not be seeing this game for at least 2 or 3 years. Maybe not that long, but we probably won't get like any sort of a deep dive until several years from now when it's actually, been built, since they're just starting development.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. So we'll see where that goes. Well, Evan. Well, we're tight 45 minutes in, but that's all the news we had for this week.
Hey, all right.
Look at us.
We did it. We got through it.
We got through it. Who need? I mean, may he rest in peace.
Rest in peace. God rest his soul.
Yeah, he allegedly has been the victim of one Evan Brando, but that's going to be decided. That'll be decided in a court of law.
That's right. That's not for me to decide.
Not in a podcast of law. Well, Evan, thank you very much for coming along on this ride. Where can people keep up with you? Where can people follow you in your endeavors?
Yeah, hit me up at Evan Brando Show on all the socials. I'm on Twitch at The Brando Show. And if you follow those things, you'll be seeing a new podcast I'm starting in a couple of weeks here.
Nice. Are we at a point where we can talk about what it is? Or
I think so. It's called Disaster Masters. It's a podcast about movies that bombed commercially. But not fun. Critically, although sometimes also critically.
Okay. John Carter.
Yeah, we haven't done John Carter. So far, we've ripped, I think I could say this, we've ripped Treasure Planet, Power Rangers, a movie called Dick, which I don't know if you've heard of this.
I don't remember Dick.
This seems very up your alley. It's a movie about two like bubbly teenage girls, think like kind of Clueless, and they are kind of Forrest Gumping their way through Watergate.
Oh, God.
They become Richard Nixon's like personal dog walkers.
What?
It's really funny.
How weird.
Yeah. And then the Lone Ranger.
Got it. Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it'll be out the next week or two.
Nice. Yeah. Very good. Well, thank you for coming along for the ride. To our listeners, as always, every Thursday, new episode of the Spotlight Games podcast. So stick around. I am at Patrick Schwag. As we already said, Evan is at Evan Brando Show. The late Kamen, may he rest in peace, at Kid Kamen. Maybe there will be a ghost posting on his behalf for the coming days. You can follow us.
A loved family member still.
You can follow the pod at Spot Games Pod on Twitter or at Spotlight Games Podcast on Instagram. Rate, review us, all that bullshit. YouTube, subscribe, beep, boop, bop. Until next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.